With only one victory since the NFL's opening week and their most recent loss having occurred just 4 days ago, you could say an already thirsty New Orleans Saints team landed in the desert on Wednesday in search of a victory on Thursday Night Football. And given that tonight's opponent, Arizona, also carries a 2-4 record, the Cardinals equally are parched entering tonight's game. Can the once again short-handed Saints leave quenched? We'll know the answer in a few hours. Welcome to the short week edition of the Saints Game Day Live, presented by Sanderson Farms. I'm John DeShazier, senior writer for NewOrleansSaints.com, and soon we'll have a boots on the ground live report from my co-host, Aaron Summers, who's at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, site of tonight's game. During our countdown to kickoff presented by Bullseye, we'll share with you tonight's inactives, the breakdown featuring Saints legend and former quarterback Luke McCown, our player spotlight with Rashid Shaheed, the rookie returner, and the black and gold roll call. Tonight's game will kick off at 7:15 p.m. and can be seen locally on WDSU Channel 6 or Prime Video, or if you choose, take a listen on the radio at WWL 870 AM. For New Orleans, this is a big one, not a must win, because even now the Saints are just one game behind division leaders in the NFC South. Coach Dennis Allen on Monday said this isn't the time to panic, and he's absolutely correct. There's plenty of time and room for the Saints to make a move to the top of the division and claim the playoff berth that goes along with it. But the Saints need to move before time becomes too much of a factor. Just in, we've got tonight's inactives presented by Louisiana Cat. Let's see who's in and who's out for the game. Notably, cornerback Paulson Adebo. We saw him on the field this week, early in the week, but he wasn't active on Wednesday when we saw the open portion of practice. So that's a bit of a surprise. Now the Saints will be without both their starting cornerbacks because Marshawn Lattimore also out of the game. Peyton Turner, the defensive end, hadn't been in for a while. And the other inactives we were already aware of. Receiver Michael Thomas, receiver Jarvis Landry, left guard Andrus Peat, tight end Adam Troutman. That takes away a lot of the offense from what the Saints would want to have in this game against the Arizona Cardinals. But the Saints haven't had any problems offensively. It's been the defensive slippage over the last couple of games that's really caught up with them. But still, any game without Michael Thomas, any game without Jarvis Landry, a game without Paulson Adebo, a game without Marshawn Lattimore, these are huge names, starters for the Saints. So it puts them in a little bit more of a precarious position on a short week where you're playing an Arizona team that might be a little bit more explosive offensively once they get back DeAndre Hopkins. And speaking of that, now we'll swing to Aaron Summers, who joins us from State Farm Stadium. Aaron's going to give us a little bit of a report on what's going on with the Arizona Cardinals.
Thanks, JD. I'm here at State Farm Stadium as we await the opening kickoff of the Saints at the Arizona Cardinals here on Thursday night. The Cardinals come into this game 2-4, exactly like the Saints do. Both teams just a game back in their division. So it's really anybody's game so far. Both of these teams looking to get that W tonight. For the Cardinals, they have been struggling offensively. Quarterback Kyler Murray is a season-low percentage across the board as far as his passer rating goes, his touchdown percentages, and he's going to be missing one of his favorite targets in Hollywood Brown. Brown got injured on the last offensive play of the game last weekend, but he does get some ammunition back. Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins, he's making his return to the field tonight after missing the first 6 games due to a suspension. He has been able to work out in the facility since week 3, so he says he's ready to go. And he's one of Kyler Murray's favorite people to connect with. They are 8-2 when they're on the field together. Murray is 3-7 without him on the field. So definitely looking for that connection tonight. While the Cardinals have been struggling offensively, they are last in the league in points scored in the first half at just 4.8 a game. They had their first score in the first quarter last week, so they've just scored 3 in the first quarter alone. On the defensive side, they've been doing pretty well. They're averaging under 105 yards allowed per game, and they haven't allowed over a 100-yard rusher yet this season. something that the Saints definitely want to do. They want to establish that run, and it's been working well for them over the past couple weeks. The Saints have had 2 back-to-back games now with over 200 yards on the ground. Alvin Kamara has really been going. He had 103 against the Seahawks and 99 yards against the Bengals. Definitely looking to establish that run game against a tough defensive line in the Cards. Quarterback Andy Dalton has done pretty well. He's 3 touchdown passes, just 1 interception so far. And he's looking for another target in wide receiver Chris Olave, who looks to be back on the field tonight. Going to be good to see them two back in action. Hopefully we can get some points scored on this Thursday night matchup because they've been hard to come by over the last Thursday night games. It's going to be a fun one here in Arizona. And by the way, the Cards haven't won here in this stadium in 8 games. Saints are looking to keep that streak alive.
Thanks a lot for that, Aaron. Now, this week, I was able to catch up with former Saints quarterback Luke McCown for our breakdown presented by Microsoft Teams. Well, joining us now for the breakdown segment, former Saints quarterback Luke McCown, a guy who's always busy, so we always appreciate taking his time out to join us. Luke, we'll jump right into it. The Saints are a beat-up team, a really, really beat-up team. How does the beat-up team get a road win in Arizona?
Yeah, you got to rely on what you know how to do and what you've done best over the last couple of weeks, and that's primarily run the football. You look at what the Saints have done over the last 2 weeks, averaging more than 200 yards in both of those games, relying heavily on the gadget of Taysom Hill and what he brings to the table, but also getting AK back and getting him going into the season really gives you a lot of hope. And I know they're missing their top 3 wide receivers on offense, and that's a big load to haul when you're talking about Juice Landry and Mike Thomas, obviously Chris Olave, our first-round pick. And so you really come into a lot of struggles when you can't convert drives into points. And we saw that last week, right? Mm-hmm. 1 for 5 in the red zone. And nothing is more evident in your inability to score than when you have to settle for field goals. And Andy said it right after the game, is you're not going to win very many games doing that. And so the recipe for success, I think, this week against another 2-4 team in the Arizona Cardinals is, then let's lean heavy on the run game, which Arizona's got a defense that's top 10 in stopping the run. And so I feel like lean heavily on the run game, take care of the football, win time of possession, convert on 3rd down, which is what we've done pretty well this season, and find the stops when you can get them.
Yeah. Now, even with that, the Saints have averaged 30 points a game these last 3, 25, 26, 39. But the defense hadn't been able to hold up in a couple of those, and that was supposed to be the strength of this team. What have you seen there? I know there's injuries to Marshawn Lattimore, obviously. 4 injuries in the secondary. Marcus Maye didn't play a game. P.J. Williams hadn't played a while. But defensively, they gave up some explosives. They've given up some critical 3rd downs. They've had some critical penalties. What's been the issue there?
Yeah, I think you said it best when you talk about obviously Marshawn Lattimore, and that's kind of the key to your puzzle on defense. A guy that's renowned as a top 2, top 3 corner in the league, if not the best at points in his career. And you're facing guys like Jamar Chase, and now you've got D Hop, who's coming back. He's fresh. He's excited this week. You got Robbie Anderson being traded over, not to mention AJ Green still out there. And so you really got to lean on the fundamentals of what you've done as a core group on defense. You got to lean on Cam Jordan, getting to the passer, and primarily this week, staying disciplined in your pass rush. You're going to have to cover for longer. You know that. Tyrann Mathieu knows that. He knows that better than anybody, having played there and played in that division. And so it boils down to staying in your lane, staying in your pass rush lanes, staying disciplined in your coverage techniques and your coverage responsibilities, because we know that Kyler's going to run around. We know that he's going to make plays. We know that he's going to extend plays.
Well, Luke, thanks again for joining us here on the breakdown as the Saints prepare to play Arizona. Both teams 2-4, each desperately needing a win, probably. Hopefully the Saints will be the one to walk off State Farm Stadium with the victory. So, Luke, thanks for joining us again.
Yeah, you bet, John. Anytime, man. Anytime. Love talking ball with you.
Now, Luke's a man who knows a little something about offense, and speaking of offense, what the Saints have shown the previous 2 games is that a great running game can put you in fantastic position to win. Against Seattle and Cincinnati, New Orleans totaled 463 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns on 82 carries. Alvin Kamara accounted for 202 yards on 42 carries. That has been the best recipe and likely will continue to be, as the offense still is missing receivers Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry. Getting rookie Chris Olave back is a huge plus. He leads the team with 25 catches for 398 yards. But Thomas and Landry are monumental absences. And now Adam Troutman is missing from the tight ends group. The Saints may have found some offensive help in rookie receiver Rashid Shaheed, but he's young. He doesn't have a full grasp of the offense yet. Better, especially on the road, to depend on a run game that appears to have found its footing and will be going against a team that's allowing just 104 yards per game, but 4.3 yards per attempt. The Saints need to control the clock, and when they reach the red zone, they have to finish the drive. 1 for 5 in the red zone might have been a determining factor in the 30-26 loss to Cincinnati on Sunday, and the efficiency has to increase. With a little more insight on tonight's game, Aaron was able to sit down this week with Rashid Shaheed, who ran for his first touchdown in the NFL, in this week's Player Spotlight presented by Sanderson Farms.
Welcome into our Player Spotlight presented by Sanderson Farms. I'm Erin Summers here with Saints wide receiver return specialist Rashid Shaheed. You had your first NFL game this past Sunday. What were the emotions like leading up to getting onto the field for the first time?
Tons of emotions. It was emotions all over the place. It was, like you said, my first NFL game. It's something I've been, dreaming about since I was a little kid, and finally having the opportunity to do that and enjoy the moment with my teammates and my family, it was really fun.
Not only did you get on the field for the first time, you scored your first NFL touchdown in your first touch, a 44-yard rushing touchdown. How did you do that?
Well, really, it was just schemed up great, honestly. The play, we worked on it all week throughout practice, and it turned out to look exactly how it did in practice. Quez did a great job of, distracting his guy. He came down on a block, and, I just saw open grass, and all I had to do was make a couple cuts. And, it's just plays like that. It's just guys just doing their job. And, I just run. That's all I do. So.
You do run, and you run pretty fast. That's what everybody talks about around here. Everybody that I've talked to about you brings up your speed. Where did it come from?
My family. Both my parents were collegiate track stars. They passed that down to me and my younger sisters. So that's where a lot of it comes from. I grew up running track all my life. Started when I was 10 years old, and ran throughout college and everything. So that definitely helped a lot.
When did you start playing football, fall in love with that game?
I started playing when I was 5, flag football, I was a little kid. Back then I was a running back, and I just, when I just got the ball and I took off whichever direction. But I've been playing football for a very long time, and, being able to get to this level and just continue to do what I love, it's been a blessing.
You broke records when you were playing in college at Weber State. How much did you learn when you were playing in college that you can carry into being here and being a pro?
A ton. I was surrounded by a lot of good guys and a lot of good coaches and a lot of good teammates. They kept me motivated. They helped me see that I can do this, as long as I stayed grounded and worked hard and stayed dedicated to my craft. I would say a lot of the times I didn't believe that I could do what I do, and that's why I looked to them for confidence and stuff like that. So there was definitely some hard times, dealing with injuries and all that stuff throughout college. But just people around me keeping me grounded, telling me that I can do it, definitely helped a lot.
You mentioned injury. You had an injury to your knee, the final game of your collegiate career. Had an impact on your draft status and what your future may look like. What were some of the challenges that you were able to overcome to be able to end up with a spot here with the Saints? Right.
Yeah, it was really tough mentally, especially at the beginning of the process. It was, like you said, it was my last game of my college career, and I wasn't sure what the future would look like, especially with the draft and everything coming up. Did tons of rehab. Once again, I had a lot of people around me keeping my head high, telling me that everything's going to be okay, and I just worked hard, and it allowed me to get to where I am today. And there's a ton of people that have impacted me throughout this time period, and wouldn't ask for it to be any other way.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on our Player Spotlight. We look forward to watching you play a lot more this season.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Now on to the special teams, and New Orleans appears to be in a good groove with these units. Now, Will Lutz is coming off a game with 4 made field goals. You'd rather have touchdowns, of course, but it's always good to have a kicker that you feel comfortable with, that drives will result in points. For 2 straight weeks, the Saints have recovered a fumble on special teams, so that's been helpful. They've come close to blocking a punt all season, and it seems just a matter of time before someone breaks through. And Shaheed can provide some pop in the return game. He's capable of taking one to the house. I don't think the shank punt against Cincinnati will have any carryover for Blake Gillikin, but the bad ones are remembered much more than the good ones always. So let's hope he doesn't have to punt at all tonight, but when he does, that he executes consistently, because the Saints might need that in terms of flipping the field goal position, hopefully pinning the Cardinals deep, making them drive the long way. Defensively, there's frankly some cleaning up to do across the board. Just when it appeared the defense was exactly what it believed it would be, it allowed 32 and 30 points in back-to-back games. The explosive plays rained down against Seattle. The Seahawks had 6 of them, and even though that area was cleaned up against Cincinnati, it wasn't cleaned up enough. The one explosive play of note against the Bengals, a 60-yard game-winning touchdown pass allowed when 2 tackles were missed. Add in the fact that the defense struck out in the red zone, with the Bengals scoring on all 3 red zone possessions, and the unit has to figure out how to get all the facets working in order at the same time, in the same game, for all 60 minutes. The Cardinals return receiver DeAndre Hopkins tonight after he missed the first 6 games due to a league suspension. He's only a top 3 or 4 receiver in the league, and New Orleans again will need to be able to stop DeAndre Hopkins, hopefully without its top cornerback, Marshawn Lattimore. And now Paulson Adebo is out at the other cornerback. And Arizona quarterback Kyler Murray is precisely the kind of quarterback that's been a major problem for the Saints defense. He's mobile, he throws well out of the pocket, and when he tucks and runs or operates the zone read option, he's a headache. Murray has thrown for 1,463 yards and 6 touchdowns with 4 interceptions, and he's run for 6.1 yards per carry and 2 scores on 38 carries. The Saints probably would rather see him in the pocket than out of it, and New Orleans has registered 3 sacks in each of the last 4 games. So the pass rush is getting home enough. Maybe it can force Murray into a couple of mistakes. If you haven't already, make sure to download the ASAP app to get all of your game day needs delivered right to your door. Use Saints code SAINTS22 to score free delivery, tickets, autographed items, and more. ASAP is the official mobile ordering partner of the New Orleans Saints. Now, whose fans travel better than Saints fans? No one's. They're checking in with us from Arizona. Here's the Black and Gold Roll Call presented by Bud Light.
Hey, as Barbara was saying, we're at the Saints and Cardinals game, and we're gonna win today. I'm with my fiance,
Raquel. Go Saints!
We got this. We're gonna win. Let's go, Saints!
Grounding from the dirty south. Go Saints!
What's up, guys? It's Ryan Brewer here from Norco, Louisiana, rooting on our Saints today. Come and whip up on the Cardinals. Let's go, Saints, baby!
Let's go, Saints!
Woo!
Let's go!
Hi, this is Monica Farnell from Las Cruces, New Mexico, and I hope we pluck the Cardinals.
Hi, this is Mike and Jack from Denver. We're excited for the Saints' big win today. Let's go, Saints!
Hi, this is Cole Jones from Yucca Valley, California, and I came to support the Saints today. We're going to beat these Cardinals.
Hi, this is Juanita
I'm Bill
Turner from Los Angeles, California. We drove in to see the New Orleans Saints beat up on the Cardinals.
That's right, and the Saints are going to score 10 touchdowns with a win today.
Let's do that.
Well, thanks for joining us for this edition of Game Day Live. Continue to monitor the game through our official Saints Twitter as well as NewOrleansSaints.com. And remember to join us right back here for the postgame report. For Aaron Summers, I'm John DeShazier. Enjoy the game.